my favorite patron was Brian Oak from The Current, who had an ex-girlfriend who was really into tarot. And so his friends had all picked wands, pentacles, and cups, and he was left with swords. And he was like, that's the worst one. It means like conflict and betrayal, and it's violent, it's a sword, they're gonna throw knives at me. And so the whole time he was walking through the basement, he was constantly waiting for swords and knives, and the sword was actually a trick. It wasn't a sword, it was a metaphor for a phallus. There was a character in the basement that had this big vaginal opening in their chest, and there was a talisman hidden inside of it. So if you had yellow for swords on your nose, the character would let you like go in there, and if you pulled one out and happened to put it on, then you won it. And I don't know if anybody got that one, but so it's all about head games. You know, nothing is scarier than what you can get people to do to themselves.
What the haunted basement is, that's a big question.
The haunted basement? That's a interesting question.
In broad terms, it's a haunted house.
It's just this cool improvisational theatrical event that I guess we get to share with people.
It's artist-led. The installations created by artists are with obviously a terror bent.
Kind of an experimental art project, interactive theater project, and a profitable haunted basement.
It's populated by different kinds of performers, dancers, actors, clowns, professional clowns, improv people, just every kind of discipline you can think of coming together to create this.
At a high level, I like to describe the haunted basement as just a crazy, creepy freak show. Kind of a funky fun house. So for a lot of people, it is one of the more terrifying haunted experiences that exist.
I think it's just a little bit of a scare, or get thrown out of our element.
Yeah, I've heard stories of right when you're walking in, how many pinches on your face tells you how scared you or how much contact you want when you enter in.
Do I want to use a safety word?
Yeah, so they have a safety word, and do you think you would ever use it?
Oh, probably not.
No.
I don't think it would get that bad.
Yeah.
And also a scare where someone got dog food stuffed in their face.
You kind of go in having this background of, oh, haunted houses, it's all jump scares, you turn the corner and something's there and you freak out and then you move on. But as our friend here was just saying, it's more psychological, it goes deeper than just the ah! So it's a very unique scare that I've never experienced before, and it's fun.
Since down here we're trying to get more at what is unsettling and what is difficult to process mentally, that means that we end up with a lot stranger stuff, a lot of stuff that's sometimes less cookie cutter scary, but more difficult to deal with because you don't know what the goal is, you don't know what the narrative is.
We also kind of shy away from a lot of typical haunted house themes, which I love. But we challenge ourselves to create content that people aren't going to expect.
It's not a guy with an axe, it's a guy with a feather duster, and you don't know if he just wants to tickle you or if he's trying to let your guard down so then he can kill you with an axe. Since you don't have the clear process of what's going on, you don't know how to deal with it. And that leads to an unsettling feeling that's really worked on a lot of patrons.
We got taped together at the strip dance pole by a strange clown.
as the spirit of the basement morphed from more environmental scares to more interactional scares, where people were engaged with a lot more by the actors and asked to do things, we then brought in the concept of like starting to play with people upstairs, commanding them to do things, asking them to do weird things, getting them to do weird things as a way to kind of start to bring down their inhibitions and get them used to being in an environment where we were kind of calling the shots.
This year's theme ended up being kind of like a life reversal.
And they were walking me through and just giving me a tour. Here's what's going to be here, here's what's going to be here. And I was taking notes in this little notebook that I had, and I realized that we were kind of moving backwards in time.
The Haunted Basement rarely has an intentional theme. This year sort of had an accidental theme of reverse life. It started in hell and then worked backwards through death and life and misery and then ended at birth. And that was, as far as we've been told, completely accidental.
Well, it had an unofficial theme, I will say that, and that was tarot. So this year was our 10th anniversary, and we had a special piece of merchandise available, and it was a tarot deck, and it was designed by a lot of the artists who created the environments in the basement and a lot of the creeps who were acting down here.
The basement itself is notoriously haunted. I was working our blackout room by myself, and I was at a spot where patrons wouldn't really go because they're following a rope and they're freaked out because it's dark and there's someone in here, so gotta follow the rope. And I was standing there like holding still and like right against a wall, so no one could come up behind me. And from behind me in my ear, I hear in like this really gravelly voice, "What do you think you're doing?" And I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm out of here, guys. I'll see you later. Like, that's enough for me, thanks.